Hello and welcome to this special broadcast on DD India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on his second visit to Israel since he took office. Over the 2 days of his stay there, he will not only hold talks with his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu on multiple bilateral and regional and global issues as well. I'm Tanvi Taneja.
And I'm Gautam Roy. The visit will also see the PM meeting Israel's President Isaac Herzog. Apart from these engagements, Prime Minister Modi will also become the first Indian Prime Minister to address Israel's parliament, the Knesset, and also make a stop at Yad Vashem tomorrow, which is the Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem.
Yes, this is set to be a landmark visit for Prime Minister Modi. In many ways, India and Israel have been strategic partners for decades. They also began their first round of negotiations for the India-Israel Free Trade Agreement on Monday, which will go on till Thursday.
Well, India and Israel have also been strong partners on defense and security as well as combating terrorism. And their other domains of cooperation extend from energy to tech, agriculture to culture. Over the next 2.5 hours, we'll be taking you through the day's developments in Tel Aviv while speaking with expert guests and our correspondents on the ground.
So as we speak, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to touch down to Israel in a short while from now. He's on a 2-day state visit. The historic visit comes at a time when relations between the two countries are growing from strength to strength in recent years.
The two nations share a strategic partnership with their priorities converging in diverse domains, from defense and security to innovation and workforce mobilization.
During his visit, Prime Minister Modi will address Israel's parliament, the Knesset, and hold talks with his Israeli counterpart, Benjamin Netanyahu, in Jerusalem.
Well, ahead of the visit, Prime Minister Modi, in his departure statement, expressed confidence that his state visit will further consolidate the enduring bonds between the two Prime Ministers.
Yes, Prime Minister Modi said that India and Israel share a robust and multifaceted strategic partnership that has witnessed remarkable growth and dynamism in recent years.
The PM said that he looks forward to his discussions with his counterpart, Benjamin Netanyahu, aimed at further strengthening the cooperation between the two nations across various domains, including science and technology, innovation, agriculture, water management, technology, defense and security, trade and investment, as well as people-to-people ties.
So the two leaders will also exchange views on regional, global and issues of mutual interest. During the visit, Prime Minister said that he will also meet with Isaac Herzog, President of Israel.
The PM there said that he will have the honor of becoming the first Indian PM to address the Israeli parliament, the Knesset. On that occasion, there would also be a tribute to the strong parliamentary and democratic ties that bind the two nations. Besides, Prime Minister said he will also be interacting with members of the Indian diaspora who have for long been nurturing the India-Israel special friendship.
Prime Minister expressed confidence that his state visit will further consolidate the enduring bonds between the two countries, set new goals for the strategic partnership, and advance our shared vision for a resilient, innovative and prosperous future.
Let me now take you across to Shubhendu Ghosh, our colleague joining us from Tel Aviv live now. Shubhendu, good afternoon here in Delhi, but tell us about how's it going in Tel Aviv. A long-anticipated trip there taking place, Prime Minister Modi for a second time soon to be there, and an extensive 2-day itinerary for the state visit.
Hello, Gautam. And Tanvi, I am in Jerusalem at the moment, and this is where most of the action is going to be. All are anticipating Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival shortly in Israel, historic second visit. Where I am right now, I'm in the premises of the hotel, where a special diaspora welcome has been organized for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. There's some 20,000 Indians who live and work in Israel, most of them engaged in basically different skilled and semi-skilled vocations. There are a number of caregivers, Indian caregivers, who are actively providing their services in Israel, and all of them have gathered here in Jerusalem to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Some of them shared their thoughts about the manner in which, as India and Israel ties have improved and become stronger in the past decade, their own opportunities have also become better. The kind of relationship that they have with locals here, with the Israelis here, the good relations between between the two countries have also reflected in their working conditions becoming better. So we see the manner in which improving ties percolate down to every level. And this visit of Prime Minister, second visit to Israel, an official one, is going to be historic also from the perspective of the expectations that are sky high. The countries already share a deep strategic partnership. The expectations are high that this time over, across different sectors, whether defense or security, whether innovation, agriculture, even organized mobilization of workforce, all these sectors are going to get a boost as Prime Minister Modi and PM Netanyahu hold talks.
Okay, Shubhendu, what would you say are India's main expectations from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's second visit to Israel?
As I mentioned, Tanvi, defense and security sector, the partnership in this domain has been really a cornerstone for the relationship between the two countries, seeking opportunities for co-production of advanced defense systems, weaponry. Those are areas in which India and Israel could collaborate in a more extensive fashion. Innovation is another domain where both countries in the recent years, in particular for India, have invested significantly. India just wrapped up the India AI Impact Summit, a global congregation of innovators in emerging technologies, and Israel already has a significant expertise in the domain. So Israeli talent, Israeli technology, along with Indian talent and Indian technology coming together could be a win-win partnership for both the countries. My conversation with the ambassador, he emphasized that science and tech could in fact be the milestone for the next stage of development between India and Israel as Prime Minister Modi and PM Netanyahu hold talks.
Right, Shubhendu. Now, of course, the uppermost concern perhaps for both the leaders, not only Prime Minister Modi, would be enhancing and furthering the newfound stability in the region. And Israeli Prime Minister has been talking about building a hexagon of alliances between not just the nations in the region, but also around it, which includes India. Now, to what extent can these leaders pursue this sort of an ambition?
Right, Gautam. Volatility in this region has been a concern for a long time. Even as we speak, we know that the tensions are brewing between United States and Iran, for example, and tensions in one part of the region impacts the other. So those concerns continue. India has always supported all efforts towards peacefully resolving long-drawn conflicts, with all sides coming together and finding a solution which does justice to demand from all sides. And therefore, India's perspective of strategic autonomy, really, we see it coming into play in India's engagement with this part of the world, where there are many adversaries really packed together and different conflicts which are brewing all the time. But India, and it has been very unique about India's diplomatic outreach and partnership, that is able to establish direct bilateral partnership without being affected by regional geopolitics. So that strategic autonomy will continue to guide, it is expected, India's priorities in engaging with the region. But broadly, India has always been on the side of a peaceful resolution of conflict, avoiding conflicts that impact not just the region, but the entire world, especially in terms of energy supply chain, if we talk about the region of West Asia in particular. So in that sense, the leaders come with their respective vision, their respective national priorities. But India's priority would be to boost ties with Israel and yet maintain and retain its strategic autonomy.
Yes, Shubhendu, we saw your earlier interview with India's ambassador to Israel, Mr. J.P. Singh, where he said that India and Israel are on the same page when it comes to terrorism. So how far is this view on terrorism from both sides have helped forge closer ties between the two countries?
Oh, absolutely. And it really comes from historical experiences that both the countries have faced. The challenge of terrorism, challenge of cross-border terrorism in particular. And therefore, it has also helped shape the worldview of the two countries and the convergence that we see in tackling terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. And the ambassador of India to Israel did highlight that point. And in that domain in particular, there is absolutely no doubt that India and Israel are on the same page 100%. And their technological advances, their advances in defense and security measures, particularly targeted at combating terrorism, is in fact a force multiplier. Both countries learn from each other's experiences. Both countries share data and information with one another, which helps prevent a lot of instances of terrorist action. So in that sense, it's an important area of convergence. And it also defines India-Israel partnership and friendship. And they together represent a very strong voice on the international platform, a voice against terrorism, a voice that says there should not be any double standards as far as tackling or defining terrorism is concerned. So in that sense, that's terrorism, anti-terrorism stance, an important bedrock of partnership between India and Israel.
Right, Shubhendu, now last year there was a pact on investment between India and Israel, and now as we speak, I believe talks are still going on in terms of how trade can be taken forward as well in the form of an FTA. This is the first round. But do you think when the two leaders meet in Jerusalem, there will be some guidance given to ensure that this opportunity that's there of relative stability, again I speak of that, relative though tenuous, is maximized in terms of how trade can be taken far beyond the levels that it used to be before the conflict in Gaza broke out?
That's right, Gautam. If you look at figures of around 2022, around 2020, 2022, when the trade between the two countries peaked about $10 billion of trade volume, and then sort of it went down given the circumstances in the region. Yes, a trade partnership. Both sides believe that the potential of India-Israel trade volume and partnership is yet to be realized its full potential. And now when there is an opportunity at relative peace and stability, this is a good time for both the countries to foster better ties in trade partnership. It is already in place. The action, the efforts are already in place. Last year, there was an agreement signed to boost investment in one another's country, in India and Israel, by the companies, sectors in the other country. And now when Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Netanyahu would meet, there would be time to focus on more specifics. And again, we're learning from our sources that technology, the convergence, the cooperation in the domain of technology, in startups, in innovation, continues to be a key priority, and specific agreements in that domain are expected. But yes, both sides believe that the real potential of trade volumes, it's around $3 billion annually as of now. The real potential is much higher. And as peace prevails in the region, one hopes opportunities and the confidence of investors and companies is only likely to increase in the coming years.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Shubhendu, for all those updates. Shubhendu Ghosh reporting from Jerusalem as we all stand by for Prime Minister Narendra Modi touching down in a few minutes from now in Jerusalem.
All right, and let's now have a look at India and Israel ties, which have strengthened over the years as well through this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Israel from February 25th to 26th. This will be Prime Minister's second official visit to the West Asian country. In Jerusalem, PM Modi will be the first Indian Prime Minister to address the Israeli parliament called Knesset.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji is visiting Israel on February 25th and 26th. It's a 2 days visit. This is a very historic visit. He came to, first time he came to Israel was in 2017. And that time he laid down the foundation of our relationship. And now we have reached a stage where we need to take it forward and start a new phase of our strategic relationship. During his visit, he will be having detailed discussions on bilateral issues and regional and global issues with the Prime Minister, Mr. Netanyahu. He will also be meeting the President, Mr. Herzog, and he will be addressing the Knesset, which is their parliament.
India and Israel are key defense and security partners. Between 2020 and 24, Israel supplied 13% of India's total arms imports, while India accounted for 34% of Israel's defense exports. An MOU was inked in 2025 to enable sharing of advanced tech and promote co-development and co-production of defense equipments. The two countries are strongly committed to combating terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. On the trade front, India ranks as Israel's second largest Asian trading partner in merchandise. In financial year 24-25, bilateral trade was $3.75 billion. Israel is a key partner country in the India-led IMAC initiative. India and Israel also cooperate closely in areas of water and agriculture, focusing on water conservation, wastewater treatment. The two countries are fostering strong partnership in innovation and workforce mobilization, which serves as a practical economic pillar in their bilateral relations.
The best thing about India and Israel are that we don't compete with each other, rather we complement each other, and we complement in our core strengths. Israel's core strength is in science and technology, innovation, critical and emerging technologies, be it AI, be it cybersecurity, quantum. And similarly, our core strength is, huge kind of engineers, skilled manpower, and there's an ecosystem in India where we can scale it up in sense. So the idea during this visit will be how we can combine these two ecosystems so that both the countries can benefit out of it.
Earlier, Prime Minister Modi highlighted the deep and enduring friendship between India and Israel, highlighting trust, innovation, and shared commitment to peace and progress that define the bilateral ties.
Behind me, you can see the old city of Jerusalem. The civilizational ties between India and Israel date back to over 2 millennia. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits Israel, expectations are high that the modern strategic partnership will be taken forward in diverse domains. With camera person Anand Kumar, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in Jerusalem.
And we have with us now Dr. Alvite Ningtao Jam, Deputy Director, Symbiosis School of International Studies, Pune. Dr. Alvite has also been former consultant in the National Security Council Secretariat in the Prime Minister's office. Welcome, Dr. Alvite, to DD India News Hour. Yes, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has actually touched down in Jerusalem, Israel. He is the first Indian, in fact, he was the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Israel in 2017, and now it is his second trip to the country in a decade. Today, he will also be the first Indian Prime Minister to address the Israeli Parliament, the Knesset. So your take on these facts here?
Thank you, Tanvi, and thank you, Gautam, for having me on the show. In fact, this is a very significant development, particularly for a country like India and also Israel that has been pretty cautious about showcasing the potential of their partnerships for a very long period of time. This particular visit by our Prime Minister to Israel for the second time, although it has come after a gap of 9 years, this is a very significant milestone, particularly in the journey of our Indian foreign policy, that we are able to come out very, very confidently in engaging with a country like Israel over the last many years. So, I have been listening to your introductory remarks about this trajectory of the relations between India and Israel over the last many years, but particularly after 2014, when we have new Prime Minister in New Delhi, the relationships have been growing by leaps and bounds. And it is very important to note that this particular aspect of the political partnership between the two leadership, has helped in actualizing different potentials both the countries have in terms of forging different partnerships. For a pretty long period of time, if we have to look at, the relationship between India and Israel, one would only look at the defense component, and in that also it's more of a patron-client or a buyer-seller relationship. But today it has gone beyond that. While the arms trade between the two countries will continue to remain one of the mainstays of the partnership or the ties, one may call it, the exploration of engaging in joint collaborations, co-productions, is something I would say a very important breakthrough. And now he is going to be the first Indian Prime Minister to be speaking at the Knesset tomorrow, if I'm not wrong. That in itself speaks a volume about the coming of age of the political partnerships and the confidence both sides have in engaging with one another despite the troubles, despite the turmoils which we are witnessing in this part of the region, which is very, very important for us. And at the same time, a little bit of the domestic turmoil which are going on right now inside Israel.
Yes, sir. Doctor, I just wanted to ask you about, in fact, this juncture, the moment of this visit really, in terms of how opportune is it or how appropriate is it, considering that, again, there is relative peace in the region and Israel is in the center of that peace process as well, on one hand, and yet there is room for a sudden flare-up as well, where you consider the kind of hostilities that have been building up on the front of Iran.
Yeah, I think the juncture, of course, is very important. And it's again, it's to be predicting something in Middle East. It's foolhardy, I must say, with the way how things are taking place, particularly after 2023 October. There has been a relative silence of quietness in the region until the time on that ill-fated morning of 7th October 2023, when Hamas carried out that very brazen attacks against the Israeli citizens. But that the Prime Minister has been able to move to Israel at this particular juncture also sends out a signal that we are very confident in dealing with the regional players, not only with Israel, but also with the wider West Asian region. That is, again, it has been exhibited by our constant engagement with the top leadership, be it with the Gulf countries' leaders, and the number of visits that have been taken place by Prime Minister himself to other Gulf countries, and at the same time, our foreign ministers travel to Israel and other GCC countries have all indicated that this is a very important region, and no matter what happens, we will continue to engage and explore more avenues for partnerships. And this political fillip that New Delhi has given in this partnership with Israel, particularly in the form of a prime ministerial visit in 2017, again followed by this current visit, is a strong indication that this country holds immense significance for us in terms of something which you and Tanvi have mentioned in terms of technological partnership, agricultural partnership, let alone the defense component of the bilateral ties. But these are few very key areas, which really, touches the grassroots in the country, like water management, agriculture, and also employment generation. And nowadays, we are also getting a lot more into science and technology, AI, quantum, and these are some areas which we look forward to seeing in the form of some engagements or agreements or announcements in the next 1.5 days. But again, regardless of this growth in the ties, the security dynamics of the region is very, very important. We would not like to see a region that has been engulfed by another conflict. Relatively, there has been some silence and stability in the region, but we have something looming in the background that is in the form of, the U.S.
Okay, Dr. Alva, I'd request you to stay with us as we broadcast these visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi touching down in Jerusalem. It is going to be an action-packed day for the Indian Prime Minister as he meets Benjamin Netanyahu, his Israeli counterpart. And in fact, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has received Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
You can see, in a way, a history repeating itself because Prime Minister Modi, when he first visited Israel, had also been received in a similar manner. And that warmth in ties in the relationship between the leaders is also sustaining through that period, through the kind of ups and downs that both leaders might have gone through in terms of other circumstances. It hasn't changed.
Prime Minister Modi and his Israeli counterpart sharing a brief tete-a-tete at the airport in Jerusalem, and great warmth in a significant gesture like the last time in 2017, Israeli Prime Minister receiving personally Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Dr. Alvite Nengtao Jam continues to be with us. Dr. Alvite, sometimes the personalities and personal rapport of the leaders play a big part in bringing the countries closer together. What more can you tell us about this personal rapport between the two prime ministers here? How far has that nurtured the India-Israel relationship?
המשמר ידגל את נשקו. דגל, צ'ק! משמר יחטיף את נשקו. החטף, צ'ק! אדוני ראש הממשלה, משמר כבוד של חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל ערוך ונכון לסקירתך. אדוני. המשמר ידגל את נשקו. דגל, צ'ק! המשמר יחטיף את נשקו. החטף, צ'ק! המשמר יציג את נשקו. הצה, צ'ק! המשמר יעבור לנוח, מות נוח.
We saw a very warm ceremonious reception accorded to Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his second visit to Israel. He's just deplaned, and we'll be bringing you all the details here on DD India in terms of how his two-day state visit to Israel progresses from here. Tanvi.
Yes, that was Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv, the busiest airport of Israel. We saw a ceremonial guard of honor given to Prime Minister Modi, and Benjamin Netanyahu personally receiving the Indian Prime Minister. Later in the day, we will see Prime Minister Narendra Modi having conversation with his Israeli counterpart, but he's also expected to meet the Israeli President, Isaac Herzog. And last night we saw the Israeli Parliament, the Knesset, lit up in the colors of the tricolour, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will today address the Israeli Parliament, the Knesset. He will become the first Indian Prime Minister to do so.
Yes, certainly. And then again, on the second day itself, there will be the Jerusalem leg of the visit, where we will see again the Prime Minister visiting Yad Vashem, which is the Holocaust Museum that the Israeli government has put together in terms of the kind of atrocities that the Jews had to endure during the Nazi regime.
Okay, so we have with us our panel of guests. We are joined by Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya, former Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs, and Dr. Alvite Ningtao Jam, Deputy Director, Symbiosis School of International Studies, Pune, continues to be with us. Welcome, Sanjay ji, also to the program. So like we were discussing about the significance of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's second visit to Israel in just a decade. It's only relatively recently that India and Israel have, established closer ties. Could you tell us the whys and the hows of India and Israel coming together more recently, coming together closer in recent years?
Well, it's true. I remember a time when my passport did not allow me to go to Israel. And it was only in Narasimha Rao's time that we extended the diplomatic recognition and we started engaging. But I think the most significant developments really happened in the last decade and more, when our exchanges became more intense and broader in scope. And this has come about because of a variety of reasons. The first, of course, is that the two sides find a very high level of trust and confidence in the relations between us. The second is that there is actually a much more forward-oriented, future-looking agenda that we are both engaged in. And this enables us to work together in areas of technology, of the core development issues of water and agriculture, and so on. And the third, which is also very, very important, is that on the security front, both of us face similar challenges, not the same, but similar challenges in terms of cross-border terrorism. And this has enabled us to develop capacities in counterterrorism, in the defense area, and so on. And so what we do see is that this particular congruence of interests has come about. And this congruence of interest is not transactional. It is something that is also civilizational in a sense, and something that we wish to build for the future of humanity. And so it's a very unique opportunity. And to give great energy to this, I would say that the role of the principals, the leaders of the two countries, has been extremely significant in giving it the momentum that is required, and which is why you see that.
We seem to be having a bit of an issue in getting in touch with Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya. Let me come to you, Dr. Ningtao Jam. If you could just tell us, how critical is it not just for India to have deeper engagement, wider engagement with Israel, but for Israel too to engage with India and showcase also the manner in which it is engaging with not just the fastest growing large economy in the world, but a pluralistic society of 1.4 billion people. Also a voice of the global south.
Is that for me?
Yes.
Yes.
I lost you for a bit of seconds. Can you just come back to the beginning of the question?
Just wanted to ask you, how critical is it for Israel and for Netanyahu himself to showcase the kind of close engagement that he's having with a country like India, with Prime Minister Modi,
yes.
receiving him at the airport as well?
Right. I think it's this can be connecting to the previous question that you asked me about the personal rapport. I think this would be the highest form of recognition that any country's leadership can give to a visiting or incoming dignitary. And to be doing this once again, Benjamin Netanyahu has done that during the visit of our Prime Minister to Israel in 2017, and he again. Repeating the same gesture, will go a long way in augmenting the strength of the partnership. And again, both the countries share lots of importance towards strengthening these bilateral partnerships with each other. And moreover, for a country like Israel, which is again, despite its advancement in technological field or defense field, they also want certain, countries which are in the upcoming. And in that, when they look towards the east, they have something called India. So as much as we have look west or act west policy in the last almost 10 to 15 years, Israel or any other West Asian countries have also started with similar look east policy or pivot to Asia. That's when countries like India, Singapore, South Korea, and Japan figure very prominently. And then, for a market like Israel, which is very small, they would want to have a partnership with a growing market like India. So, if you look at in all senses, be it in the traditional realms of cooperation, be it defense, be it technological partnerships in the newer domain, AI, or something very important like, say, agricultural partnerships, there are more than 30 centers of excellence of Israel in India operating very successfully in every nook and corner of the country. So these are, some indications of very significant trajectory of growth in the overall partnerships. And at the same time, like the way you mentioned just a while back, because of certain sense of calmness in the region before the advent of the crisis in Gaza Strip in October 2023, the Israelis also have gotten a lot more confidence in dealing with India and also with the other regional partners. That's when you have formats like I2U2 with the hope that the regional countries can be integrated into some common technological and economic partnerships. But unfortunately, for now, things have cooled down a little bit, but this is not to say that this has been completely shelved or off the table. But there is still a strong intent both in Israel as well as in India and also in various parts of West Asia, particularly in the Gulf countries, to come to that some sort of an understanding and build up more trilateral, multilateral partnerships and to work on some areas of common interest. So when we look at these two countries together, there are lots we can do in all these sectors we have been discussing since the beginning of this discussion, traditional areas of cooperation. And I'm very happy that we have already signed the bilateral investment treaty sometime last year, which would be a stepping stone to the FTA. In fact, the Commerce Minister, I think, has visited Israel and is currently in Israel. And they are now looking at the possibility of fastening the process of signing the FTA, which will, in the long run, be very beneficial to both the countries, the industries, employment generation, and that would also open up a lot more areas where we can engage in trade, economic, and other forms of commercial relations.
All right, let's tell our viewers here, notably there are over 20,000 Indians who live and work in Israel. Some of them have gathered in Jerusalem to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Let's listen to what they had to say.
Prime Minister Modi has been very supportive of our efforts to make a heritage center in Israel about the Indian Jews, because we never had any anti-Semitism and we do not have any center here in Israel. We have a very, very small place that has been allotted to us. So thank you very much, Prime Minister Modi, for your support.
I thank Narendra Modi for coming in Israel, and as a caregiver, we feel very proud because for you, we get lots of respect in Israel, and we want your partnership, Israel and India.
I am very, very exciting to his visit, and after Modi Prime Minister, he building very strong between Israel and India relationship. That we are very happy and we are very exciting.
And special cultural performances have also been planned as part of the welcome that is to be accorded to Prime Minister Modi by the Indian diaspora in Jerusalem. Some of these performers have spoken to DD India. Listen in.
Our beloved Prime Minister is coming here. We are very excited to see him, and we got a chance to perform here. We are very excited.
I'm really grateful for this team. We are practicing for 2.5 weeks, and it was really fun, and we are excited so much here, so we don't have any words to express.
I'm so happy to perform this Kerala traditional dance form in Tiruvadara. Very excited.
We are very excited because we are just working here. This is a big opportunity for us. So how can I say? It's a huge opportunity for us. It's happy, very happy and very excited too.
We are exciting so much for the dance program.
And earlier, our correspondent caught up with some young Israeli students who said that they were also excited about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit, hoping that the relationship between India and Israel will create jobs and scientific research opportunities in both the countries.
Israel is beautiful. We love India.
Now, the civilizational relations between the two countries date back to more than 2 millennia. India has welcomed Jews for several centuries, and their contribution in turn has enriched the Indian culture as well.
People-to-people relations, yes. People-to-people relations are an important part of this relationship. There are over 42,000 Indian citizens in Israel, primarily caregivers, as well as construction and agriculture workers, diamond traders, IT professionals and students. There are around 1,000 Indian students in Israel, mainly doing doctoral and postdoctoral studies in STEM areas.
Now, there are over 100,000 Jews of Indian origin in Israel as well, who are Israeli passport holders. National Convention of Indian Origin Jews. The embassy facilitates the National Convention of Indian Jews in Israel. The annual event brings together around 5,000 Indian origin Jews in Israel.
India and Israel ties continue to improve as both nations are strategic partners. On the trade front, India ranks as Israel's second largest Asian trading partner in merchandise, dominated by the trade of diamonds, petroleum and chemicals.
In FY 2024-25, bilateral trade stood at $3.75 billion. India exported $2.1 billion worth of goods and imported $1.6 billion worth of goods. Impacted by regional instability in that region, the trade had gone down, although it had peaked to over $10 billion in 2022-23.
So India and Israel are also expanding trade into electronics, high-tech products, communications and medical equipment.
And Indian outward direct investment, that is ODI, to Israel between April 2000 and April 2025 totaled $443 million. Israel's FDI in India in the same period almost was $334.26 million.
And our guests continue to stay with us. Let me come to Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya. Yes, sir, as you were speaking to us earlier about the depth of the ties between India and Israel, today we will see Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressing the Knesset. It's a rare feat as well because there have been only a few leaders who've addressed the Knesset. The most prominent comes President Trump addressing the Knesset in October last year. How significant is this feat as well for the Indian Prime Minister to become the first Indian Prime Minister to address the Knesset?
You know, India has a very wide range of supporters within the Israeli community. It runs across different political hues within the Israeli polity, as well as different economic sectors and age groups. So this wide support for India that already exists now finds itself being able to manifest in a much more broader format. And for this, it is important to send out the messages directly to the people, as well as to the policymakers and the legislators. Prime Minister's speech at the Knesset would be extremely significant from that perspective, also coming because it is at a time when the situation in the region is still somewhat fragile. And it is also coming at a time which is when, in a certain sense, Israel has had a sort of peace understanding with the Hamas in Gaza, while it kind of works on the complementarities that it can in the broader West Asia region. So Prime Minister's message over there will be a message not only to the Israeli community, but also to the regional experts and regional people who are watching out from that perspective. Because India, apart from the very good currency that it has in Israel, also has a very good support and understanding in the Arab world. And at the end of the day, we would wish to see much more stability in that area so that peace and prosperity can come back to the region. And once that comes about, the kind of cooperation that we wish to have and we've been engaged in with the Israeli side will be able to flourish even more. My co-panelists had mentioned about some of these agreements and understandings. In many ways, I do see that the kind of Abraham understanding that had brought some of the Arab countries into closer ties with Israel is something that needs another push. And in some ways, the kind of relations that we have with all the other Arab countries could be an additional factor in bringing that sort of understanding back.
All right. Is that the reason why, Dr. Dentujam, the way that Prime Minister Netanyahu refers to India is like an ally, whereas India's lexicon there is more of a friend and a partner? We don't really believe in alliances, so we kind of shy away from using that word. But effectively, that's what it seems to have been portrayed as on the Israeli side. And for a long time, the prism of somehow India trying to balance between different pulls that it has in the region, that sort of a lens seemed to have dropped. Could you unmute yourself? Please go ahead.
Right. I think
Thank you.
There is some tacit understanding between the two countries in terms of what we actually want from this relationship. Ambassador rightly mentioned about different areas that we have been cultivating these ties on. Even if you do not use the word alliance, there are many similarities of interest that Israel and India have been sharing since the last many years. It is just that we were not able to talk very openly about certain regional dynamics in West Asia and also our own domestic political predicaments in the past. But this is something which we have overcome in the last almost little more than a decade. So there is a fair understanding of certain threats that we continue to see, and then both of us, in the sense both the countries have been very resolute in fighting this menace of terrorism that in itself is one major binding thread between the two countries. And also some of the non-state actors which are operating in the region in West Asia, also in our part of the world. These are elements, these are anti-state elements that can really disturb and destroy the economic progress of both the countries in their own respective territories. So this sort of challenges, which we have some common threat perception, really helps us in augmenting our cooperation, particularly in the security or counterterrorism domain. But at the same time, I think at this point when we are discussing the visit, there is also some sort of an understanding in the Arab world about the importance of a country the importance of increasing partnerships with countries like India. And I think it's a very fascinating display of real politics that you are willing to, shred aside or keep aside some of the ideological or political differences that really plagued the relationship for a very long period of time. But they are now looking for more strategic partnerships or convergence of interest from where we can have some sort of a win-win cooperation. I think that realization in the Arab world, let's keep aside Israel for a while, but that's sort of a realization in the Arab world that we would need to partner with a country like India in the east of our frontier. I think it's very important that all of them are looking for post-hydrocarbon future. And in that, India also pays lots of interest and emphasis on renewable energy, energy transition, investment partnerships. I think all these factors, to a large extent, create some sort of a synergy between the two sides. The same thing can be applied with Israel. For the longest, we have been cooperating with Israel on various fronts, but it's only after we get some sort of a fillip to the political, which I call the missing link for a very long period of time now, two prime ministerial visits to the country, of course, after a span of 9 years, will add a lot more fervor to this partnership. So the alliance, whether they call it outrightly or if there's a tacit understanding, there is a fair deal of, I would say, convergence of interest on several fronts, and that should really uplift the ties to a newer level.
Okay, Dr. Alvite, you have spoken about the Arab world and the Arab nations, but when Netanyahu, in his comments on Modi's visit, mentioned a hexagon of alliances, and he said in this vision he sees India, Arab nations, African nations, Mediterranean nations, Greece and Cyprus, and nations in Asia, he said that he won't detail at the moment. What is his vision for this hexagon of alliances here?
I think, see, this could be, again, this is something which I have seen over the last couple of days, ever since Netanyahu has touched this word hexagon alliance. There are many analyses that have come up, particularly in the Indian, amongst the Indian audience. Now, the purpose would need to be very clear. What, in the first place, we still don't know what is this going to be looking like. Is it going to be, similarly on the lines of what we have as IMAC, focusing on non-security dynamics, trade, energy, transportation, connectivity projects? But yes, you rightly mentioned that he mentioned about building this sort of arrangement, keeping into consideration some of the threats coming from non-state actors or the Shiite or whatever that one can think of. But I think it is still, premature to make any prediction. But interestingly, for me, this sort of an idea takes me back to the 1950s and the early 60s when Israel, the first Prime Minister of Israel, had something called the peripheral diplomacy or peripheral doctrine, where they would like to, get the support of non-Arabs or countries in the periphery of their territory to break, or to resist against the Arab encirclement. But today, in this context, it could be some of those players like the proxy fighters or some of these players that are heavily infested by the ideological or sectarianism, something on those lines. But I would not be able to give a very concrete assessment on this. But I myself have been looking really into this, the Hexagon Alliance, whether is it going to be purely security-driven sort of an alliance, because you have some very interesting countries identified by the Prime Minister of Israel: Cyprus, Greece, unnamed, Arab country. This could be UAE. This could be any other country, and some of the African countries. I think that lends to the initiative like I2U2, where they had originally the idea of integrating the region on some common platform. So this will be my take for now.
Right. We are again getting some images for you from the Ben Gurion airport, where Prime Minister Modi was received by his counterpart there in Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and his spouse Sarah. And a ceremonial reception was accorded with the national anthems being played out as well of both the nations.
So India and Israel share a robust and multifaceted strategic partnership that has witnessed remarkable growth and dynamism in recent years. In fact, Israeli President Isaac Herzog has said that his country and people are looking forward to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the nation.
And in accordance with that relationship growing through the years, Prime Minister Modi was accorded a similar reception back in 2017, his first trip to this nation in his current post as Prime Minister of India by Benjamin Netanyahu. And even in 2026, when Prime Minister Modi landed in Tel Aviv just moments back, we're playing out those images for you right now, he was again received by Israel's Prime Minister, his counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu, along with his better half, Sarah.
Earlier, in a social media post on Sunday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu termed Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival as a historic moment, underscoring the strength of India-Israel alliance. Highlighting his personal rapport with Prime Minister Modi, Benjamin Netanyahu noted their frequent exchanges and mutual visits, calling the Indian leader not just a partner, but a personal friend.
Yes, bilateral visits have been there between these two leaders. Benjamin Netanyahu has reciprocated Prime Minister Modi's first visit to Israel the very next year. And even off late, they've been on touch over the phone as well, very frequently, even exchanging New Year greetings.
Yes, and on our screens right now, a brief tete-a-tete between the two prime ministers. In this brief visit, the two prime ministers will discuss further opportunities in deepening areas of cooperation. These include science and technology, innovation, defense and security, agriculture, water management, trade and economy, and people-to-people exchanges.
The areas of space, the frontier technology, areas such as artificial intelligence, quantum computing, autonomous mobility, even autonomous weapons, perhaps, Tanvi, on the agenda.
Perhaps. We continue to have our guests with us as we show these visuals on our screen. Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya, former Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, and Dr. Al White. Ningtaujam. Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya, what is the scope of cooperation you see in defense technologies being shared between India and Israel during this visit of the Prime Minister?
Let me contextualize that a bit, Ambassador, because this visit of Prime Minister Modi is the first one to a nation like Israel, a military power in the region, after Operation Sindoor, where India got to reassess its defensive as well as offensive requirements.
Is going to be a significant part of this relationship. I look at it in two contexts. One is the kind of trust and confidence that I'd referred to that prevails, and therefore we know that these are, both of us are dependable and reliable partners. The second is actually in the context of the technology, and for that there is a very broad framework of cooperation and collaboration. It extends not only to existing weapon systems that we kind of share with each other and also co-develop, but it goes down further because the civil-military collaboration is much deeper and goes into areas of innovation, collaboration in STEM areas where fundamental sciences are being researched, and some of them get into defense kind of applications. On this visit, I understand there will be some sort of discussion regarding air defense systems, about some of the offensive capabilities of missiles and also of lasers and some of the other new generation processes. There's also a very important aspect which is of information sharing, particularly given that some of these are also related to and can be used in CT or counterterrorism operations, where we face similar kinds of challenges from radical Islam and Muslim Brotherhood and so on. So this will have a very broad ambit. What we are seeing today is a greater level of engagement between our armed forces in terms of having joint exercises of our armies as well as our Air Force. And the fact that we are looking at certain other soft collaboration areas, which include connectivity project, the potential for naval cooperation will also increase. So I see this as a very significant part, but I would wish to contextualize it in the context of the trust, confidence, and the technology collaboration that we have.
Okay, Dr. Alvite, would you like to add here what kind of defense equipment or weapons that India might be keen to seek co-production with Israel?
I would in fact say that the relationship has matured over the years. In my introductory remark, I began by saying that this was more of a patron-client or a buyer-seller relationship, which we still continue to do so. But if we look at the trajectory of the relations in this particular domain, this is one of the most distinctive domains of cooperation. Over the years, Israel has produced different kinds of solutions, which we also would require. And moreover, with the way how things are shaping up in our part of the world, in our part of the region, militarily and in security context, we would be mostly interested in getting into joint ventureship or co-production format, particularly in the missile systems or anti-missile systems. And this is something which we are doing very successfully.
All right, we're just playing out Dr. Ningtu